guys, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a super quick reading update. I'm trying to make it festive. When I tell you, I had a whole video planned out that I was gonna do for Christmas that I was super excited for, about like all my nostalgic Christmas books from years past, and I was gonna talk about all the different like holiday Christmas specials from like the 1990s that I watched, and it was just gonna be like a big Christmas, video that I was super excited for. I then got sick and of course like went right to my throat, and I was totally not able to talk well. I'm still getting over the sickness that I feel like everybody has. But if you've stayed well, then good for you. But everyone in my family basically got this, and it just derailed all my plans for Christmas. So now we're a couple days out from Christmas. I'm not gonna be able to make that video, at least not to where it would get to you before Christmas. If you really want it, let me know in the comments if you want to see that video. But I was thinking I'd just do like a Christmas in July video and do that whole thing, and then it'll be kind of fun, but we'll see. So that's what happened. And I did finish some books. I think the last time I talked to you, I was finishing up Pack of Dawn and Destiny, which I did finish. I felt like it was a good conclusion to Pip's story. It wasn't my favorite of the urban fantasy series that is written by Shea. I like the series, but I will say the highlights for me are the first series and the second series, which focuses on the vampires and the fae. And this is a clean urban fantasy that I like. And so yeah, I really liked this one, but it just wasn't my favorite. It's a great story. I really like the characters. There were some side characters that were a lot of fun. And I was doing all of this in preparation for read the next series so that I could read the next series that's coming out, because I was asked to be part of Shea's street team to promote that book. That doesn't influence my review, but I just wanted to let you know. So after I finished the Pack of Dawn and Destiny, I started King's Captive. And this series is the next one in the urban fantasy series, but I feel like it's the hardest to talk about because the characters in themselves are spoilers. So if you don't know who they are, then like if you haven't started this series and I tell you like, oh, this is a, it's this certain type of fantasy race or whatever, then it's a spoiler. So I'm going to try and talk about it like very, very like loosely, not give you like too much detail, but it's about the main character can shape shift into a house cat. And then she gets picked up by this guy who is also a magical, like he has magic. I don't know. Can't get into too many spoilers. I will say for me in this series, the highlight character is the blind vampire. And not just for like the representation, which is great, but also just because I feel like they made it really interesting and how he's able to still like kill people and be kind of like BA. I like it. So yeah, he was my highlight, like standout character. I'm almost done with this series. I read King's Captive, King's Shadow super quickly, then got sick, and then I'm halfway through King's Queen. And so I'll put them there if you want to check them out. I do like this series a lot. Like I said, it's really fun, urban fantasy. It's all set in the same like town. It's all set in the same area of Magiford. It's called Magiford, Supernatural City. And it's a fun series. So, okay, so the main book that was like on my list to finish, to get a review to you, was We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I have feelings about this book and feelings about Shirley Jackson, which I try not to carry into this, but if you took any college writing or reading or any kind of that like literature classes, you have probably read Shirley Jackson. Shirley Jackson's The Lottery is one of those stories, those short stories that is perfect for professors to have you read and then say, what did you get out of it? Because interpretations will be wildly different, what the meaning is, what you like, what do you think was the point of the story? And that's my main issue with Shirley Jackson. I read a review of this book after I had finished it that said, when you start reading Shirley Jackson, you should feel like you should know you're being manipulated. And I don't mean that in a mean way. Like, she's a good writer, but it is the truth, because her stories, she is making you do all the work. And I don't mean that, like I said, in a mean way. If you like that, if you like open to interpretation, you can get out of this book what you want to take from it. You can draw a lot of conclusions that might be very interesting to you, but it's your conclusions. And I felt this very much as I was reading We Have Always Lived in the Castle. I was like, yeah, I can assume that this is what happened and this is what this is, about, and this is what's going on. But I'm assuming that. That's me putting that on, like, I don't know that that's what the author was saying. I can interpret it this way. I can say this is what it seemed like to me. That you don't get a lot of straightforward answers with this book at all. And I will say, the further along in the book we got, the less it worked for me. So this book is about, I will be talking spoilers. I would give this 3 stars for the writing, and mainly for the writing of the first chapter alone, because the first chapter is the standout chapter. The atmosphere, the writing is on point, everything works. And then, like I said, it's a kind of slow decline to, it's not interesting to me anymore. So anyway, so Shirley Jackson starts off this book. We have Maricat Blackwood, I believe it's the last name, the Blackwoods. And so Maricat is the, I believe, 18-year-old daughter, and she's out. The first chapter is her just going through the town, getting groceries, doing stuff. And it's all very, uncomfortable. She hates everyone in the town. She feels everybody's watching her. She's part of this older family, the Blackwoods, and like the lower class townspeople, you're like, well, is it a class distinction? Why don't they like her? Did something happen? She feels like people are just watching her the whole time and she can't be comfortable. And the family that she has, basically all of her family is dead except for her older sister Constance, and then her uncle. I believe it's Julian. If it's not, I'll put it there. So the book, like I said, the first chapter, her going through the town, the townspeople kind of judging her. One of them kind of talks to her and is like a little bit harassing. And she feels like, she has to have everything done a certain way. Her steps are all, she has to walk a certain way and just to be safe. It's all really good. The atmosphere is good. The writing is good. You're like, why is this happening? It's so creepy. And like, poor, you feel bad for it. But also her mind, since we're in her mind, like she wishes all these people were dead. Like constantly like, oh, I just wish they were dead. I just wish they were dead. I'd love to just watch them dying in front of me. And you're like, well, they're not right, but maybe you're a little not right too. So she goes back to Constance, and we get like the, sisters who are very close, and she loves Constance. And then Uncle Julian is in a wheelchair, and there's the obviously tragic backstory of how they all ended up being the last of their family, the last of the Blackwoods. And major spoiler, this has happened because all of their other family members died, they were all poisoned by arsenic. One day they all sat down to a meal. Maricat was sent away to have her dinner later. She was sent to her room. We don't know why. And Constance never took sugar. The arsenic was in the sugar. And we find out that Constance never took sugar, so it was assumed that she killed all of her family members. Uncle Julian was the sole survivor, but he had agonizing pain and then was disabled, like he's in a wheelchair. So that's the story. The story is, why did this happen? We have neighbors who come and visit. So the neighbors who come and visit, they're like trying to help Constance, like, hey, get back into society. Like, no one blames you. You were acquitted, because everyone did assume that she killed all of her family members. So they're telling her, no, it's fine. Like, you can get back out there. But they all have this kind of morbid interest in her. And it's obvious, like, Maricat really plays into that, like, creepiness, like, oh, trying to drive people away. And even Uncle Julian kind of has, like, this dark sense of humor. And so they're all kind of just like, oh, we're happy alone. And, we don't want to get back out there. But little do they know that out there is going to come to them. Because not too long after, one of their cousins comes, and I don't even remember his name. It might be Edward. I'll put it there. He comes to visit, and he's very interested in the estate and wanting to talk to Constance. And, he's staying there. His dad, after the whole poisoning incident, had cut off the family and said, I don't want anything to do with you. But his dad died, so the cousin comes to stay with them. Is it Charles? I don't remember. Man, he was such a non-character to me. Like, he exists solely to, draw out all of the issues with the family. Like, he draws out Constance and that she feels, attached to him and the Blackwood family, and she is considering moving on because he's there, and she's kind of seen how dysfunctional everything is. And Maricat, of course, he draws out her personality and that she's she's always opposed to him. She's always doing things to try and get him to leave. She hates him. She wants him to die. And then he's also very oppositional to Uncle Julian. But this is not a functioning, family right now. They're very much like a mess, and Constance kind of holds everything together. But like, Merricat is now 18. The family was poisoned, I believe, 6 years ago. She's kind of just runs wild, does whatever she wants. She's out in the woods with her cat. I will say they didn't kill the cat, so I was like, props to this book, because I thought that was going to happen. And then finally, like, there's a lot of stuff happening between Merricat and this cousin, and like, this has got to come to a head at some point. So she decides time to get rid of him. So she starts a fire, burns the house, a lot of the house, and then her and her sister run out. Uncle Julian ends up dying, but I don't think that they're implying that was about like the house. It was just that he died because he was old and he had lived so long trying to get over the effects of this arsenic poisoning. I think it was arsenic. If it's not, I'll put it there. I'm so sorry. This cold really took it out of me. I'm a mess. Also, I feel like I really didn't like this book because I read it when I was sick. So like, I waited till I started feeling better to like think about it again, because I didn't want like the cold to influence me. But I still don't really like it. So you find out, and this was such a non-reveal to me, but spoiler. When Constance and Merricat are talking after the fire, you find out that it was, of course, it was Merricat who poisoned the whole family. So she was quite young. I mean, this was 6 years ago. So she's was a young girl, and she poisoned her whole entire family, knowing they would die, knowing that she wanted Constance to be the only one who lived because she put in the sugar. She knew Constance didn't use the sugar. So you are left to draw these conclusions about Merricat. And obviously the story is told from her perspective, and a lot of the times, like, from, we're getting her thoughts and her, kind of wishing everyone's dead. And in my mind, I feel like Merricat was a psychopath, and she should have been stopped. Constance should have turned her in. Like, she then starts the fire to get rid of the cousin. She doesn't care. She doesn't have any feelings about anybody or anything except for Constance and her cat. So she is a mess. But I'm doing the work for the author, because this is not stated. Constance doesn't say and never confronts, besides that being brought up, that Merricat was the one who poisoned the whole family, which then led to Constance being wrongly accused, and luckily she was acquitted because she was innocent. But that Constance knew it was Merricat the whole time. And her actions after the poisoning, where they said, oh, but she washed the sugar bowl and she did all these weird things that would have covered up the crime, was to protect Merricat. And I don't like it. I mean, I just felt like this was this is a story about not, like a sad, depressing family that, you're led to these, you can draw conclusions. Like, well, okay, well, Merricat was punished that night. She wasn't getting her supper, and that happened, you're led to believe, quite a bit. And then Merricat has this vision where she's envisioning all of the family members talking to her like she's so amazing. And so maybe she was abused. Maybe they treated her really badly. So like, in her mind, she can only envision that everyone loved her and she was treated so well, because that never happened. But once again, you're doing all the work for this author. You are not led to these conclusions. There are no answers. This is all just what you want to believe about this situation. And whether Constance is right or wrong in her actions, that can be left up to you. Whether Merricat was right or wrong in her actions, she was definitely wrong. Let's not play that game. Okay? No. But whatever, your interpretation, this is my opinion. So this is all, like I said, up to the audience. You can decide if you like this story based off of that, if it really works for you. The depressing, creepy atmosphere really drops off, and it's just Constance and Merricat living in their house. The people who were really mean to them and harassed them, especially the night of the fire, are super, they're breaking windows after the fire and doing a lot of really harassing, mean things to them. They feel so bad. These village people, they come later and drop off food for them, and they just never leave their house again. And that's pretty much the end of the story, where I think it ends with Constance or Merricat saying something about being so happy. And you're like, okay, well, that went nowhere. It led to nothing. Obviously, Merricat never had any kind of justice brought upon her for what she did. I guess Constance's punishment for covering up the crimes is being stuck with a girl that is a murderer, and that she knows, I guess Constance is safe until she isn't. I mean, Lord knows what will happen in Merricat's little brain, that, Constance could become somebody who takes her out at some point, but she believes that her sister loves her, and Mary Cat says that, so they're just going to be together with the cat in this house, relying on people to bring them food and never come out again. Now, like I said, this is the type of story that professors love to give to students because you can draw your own conclusions. You can have your own interpretation. It can be and mean whatever you choose it to mean. This can be a bigger conversation about society, about the treatment of women, about how, the outside encroaching on this very idyllic, in Mary Cat's mind, place and space where she feels safe and she feels like she's finally at peace. And was she right or wrong in the poisoning of her family? What happened? What conclusions can you draw from the little comments here and there about how she was really treated? But I don't want to do that. I'm not in college anymore. If I had to write a paper on this book, I might have been like, oh yeah, there's a lot we can draw out from here. And I did like writing papers in college, but no, I'm done with that. I'm out of college, have been for a long time, and I just don't like this story that much. And I didn't like the lottery either. So Shirley Jackson and I have a bit of a history where I would constantly, I've had to read these short stories, the lottery and stuff in college. And I definitely it left a bad taste in my mouth because I was like, I don't really care. I don't really yes, I get why they make you read them. I get that there's multiple interpretations and ideas and themes for a reason because obviously you're supposed to think about it. But she's just not the author for me. I feel like I don't connect with her characters. I definitely feel like this wasn't a horror. This wasn't even that creepy. If it would have kept the tone and the suspense going of that first chapter, which I will say the writing is good. She's a good writer. The writing style is good, especially that first chapter. Really pulls you in, really makes you feel this oppressiveness of being stuck in this town with these people, being hated, being made to feel like an outcast, even though you're from the Blackwood family. You should be able to look down your nose at these people in that society. And she can't because of what happened and how they're all scared of her and they're singing these songs about how, her sister's a murderer. And it's very interesting. So I wish it would have continued like that. Like I said, 3 stars for me, just not my favorite. If you loved it, I can see why. Like I said, this is a very much open to interpretation book. And if you read it and you have your own interpretation and what you thought really worked, let me know in the comments. I'm really sorry I didn't get that Christmas video out, but I will start filming next week my best and worst of 2023. So I will hopefully talk to you guys soon.